Welcome back to episode 137 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Troy. What's going on, Troy?
Not a whole lot. Just got back from hockey practice. Now we're going to record, and then I'm hitting the road.
Driving to Iowa?
Yeah.
All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving to everyone out in the United States who's, I guess, listening on Thursday, the day our show comes out. Want to extend our gratitude and well, yeah, I mean, it's Thanksgiving, right? So it's a time to be grateful and share that with everyone. And we're certainly grateful for everyone who listens, supports our show, follows us on social media. You guys have no idea what that means to us. And like I said, so just thank you guys for your support. While you're headed to Iowa, I'm already in the great up north. I'm here in northern Minnesota. You can see the pink wall behind me. I would be in the Gong Show gazebo, but it's about 12 degrees. So my teeth would be clattering, Troy, while I was trying to talk on the show. But yeah, we're remoting in for this episode. So hopefully the internet cooperates because we're out in the middle of nowhere. And then last thing before we get started, I guess second maybe the last thing is don't want to really beat a dead horse, but I just did want to mention, did a post yesterday trying to articulate our continued sort of campaign on awareness about the fake, I hate using the word fake comp, just illegitimate comp problem, meaning eBay listings that are completed but are never paid for, but also stay on the eBay sales history report and are then fed to to Market Movers and 130 Point and Card Ladder and all those other places. I was doing some research for today's episode on Connor Bedard and was looking up his top sales of his Easter egg. And then I saw a bunch of big sales, went to go verify those in Terapeak, saw they weren't in Terapeak, and I'm like, here's another example of where we have sales that are completed but not in Terapeak. And so I did a social media post before we left for our family holiday weekend, and about a half hour later realized that I had made a mistake. And one of the things in Terapeak that we've talked about is you have to change the site that the data pulls from. For like here in the US, our default is ebay.com. But if we want to see all the cards that are sold, that includes Canada and country sites in other country, you have to change it to all sites. And my setting was on ebay.com. So it didn't return the Connor Bedard Easter egg sales that happened in Canada. And therefore I didn't think they were real sales, but they were. And then to boot, Troy, because why wouldn't you want to just, screw up and not have a double whammy? The two sales that we said weren't paid were our friends and sponsors Slab Sharks. So kind of made them look dumb in the short term, but we tried to correct it. And so I want to bring it up for two reasons. Number one, to say sorry to Slab Sharks. It sucks when you make a mistake, and it sucks also when you make a mistake that impacts somebody else that you work hard to advocate for and you care a lot about. And so our deepest apologies there. And then even, or just as equally frustrating to me, Troy, is I feel like kind of clouded the issue.
Yeah.
And we're trying so hard to create awareness for this. And then by saying, here's sales that weren't paid, and then, oops, I guess they were paid. It's just not a good way to go about that. And so that kind of stinks. But, we live and learn, we move on. But just wanted to say sorry to Slab Sharks. Last thing, too, before we get started, just a reminder, the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a Patreon podcast. That means we rely on support from listeners like yourself to help us cover our show expenses, produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, and help us to fund initiatives in a small way to grow the hockey hobby. It's very easy to support us. You can join our $1.99 tier on Patreon. It's $5 a month. That helps, again, support our show. You also get access to our Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server. Join our friends and community there. Very easy to do. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, and then click on the Become a Patron link at the top of the page. If you want to skip that and just go to Patreon directly, you can go to patreon.com and search for Hockey Cards Gongshow. Or there's a link in the show description if you're listening to us on a podcast app or watching on YouTube. And finally, there's a link in our link tree, which is in our TikTok and Instagram profiles. We do have one new out of 199 members since our last show, Counter Sparks. Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate your support. Okay, Troy, big show today. You ready with the game plan?
I'm ready. We begin the show with the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 37. Then it's off to our next rookie deep dive segment. This is followed by hobby news. We then take a crack at putting together our hobby report cards for Connor Bedard up until this point in his young NHL career. Next is new product releases, followed by our weekly look at our favorite hockey cards in the PWCC Weekly Auction. We end the show with personal pickups. Okay, Josh, we are on episode 137. So we are going to do our segment on the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 37. Previously, we looked at the greatest NHL player that wore the number that matched our episode number. We ran through that list, so we got all those numbers done. Now we're doing the almost greatest NHL player to each number from the runners-up list in the Hockey Writers' greatest NHL player to wear each number article. Okay, Josh, the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 37. Per the nominees in the Hockey Writers' greatest NHL player to wear each number article, and selected by me, is this guy right here, Olaf Kolzig. We are on a goalie run. I love it. Actually,
how many goals in a row?
Good question. Don't ask me. A lot.
That'd be like 4, maybe, right? 4 or 5.
What was? I can't even remember what last week was, but I felt like maybe that wasn't
the run of the goalies, the great run of the goalies. Troy.
Yeah, I apologize if we didn't have a whole run, but there might have been another guy that slid in there. But we're back to goalies. That's all that matters. Olaf Kolzig. The other nominee, so there's only one other nominee besides the other person that won. The other nominee at number 37 was Curtis Brown. Josh,
wow.
Big Curtis Brown guy.
Huge. Can't remember him.
Yeah,
I think I remember him, but
you remember the name. It's like one of those guys you knew he played. But as a reminder, the greatest to wear number 37 was Patrice Bergeron. Okay, Olaf Kolzig. He's a goalie, Josh. Better get that from the picture. He was born in Johannesburg, South Africa, but he grew up in various cities in Canada. And I do not get into this, but I believe his parents were German. So he was able to play for the German national team, which is what he did when it came time to the Olympics and all that fun stuff, because he never got Canadian citizenship. I guess he had German citizenship that allowed him to play for Germany.
Okay, so he was a German born in South Africa, but grew up in Canada.
Grew up in Canada, yep.
Wow, quite the world traveler. How many NHL players are born in Africa?
I don't think a lot. He might. Maybe there's one other. I should have looked up how many players from South Africa. It's probably a handful, if anything, or from Africa.
Okay, I'm going to look up for next episode because this will be kind of fun. Okay. I believe we have 2 listeners in the content of Africa. What's the what would you bet? NHL players from Africa, over or under Gongshow listeners from the continent?
Probably under. I'm going to go
over. But
oh, you're going over. All right.
We'll see who wins.
Kolzig was drafted 19th overall in the 1989 NHL entry draft by the Washington Capitals. Kolzig played in 719 regular season NHL games over a 17-season NHL career. Kolzig played his entire career except for his last season with the Washington Capitals. At the end, he played, I think, 8 to 10 games. I can't remember exactly, with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So, for all intents and purposes, he's a Washington Capital.
It doesn't seem very likely at this point that another goalie gets taken in the top 20 picks in the draft, does it?
It doesn't, man. The way that they evaluate goalies now and how you don't have a goalie play 75 games a year, it's more of a rotational thing. You're looking for value, 2 goalies. Yeah, I think it'll be a very special circumstance to get a goalie drafted in like the top 10 anymore.
Like the Connor Bedard.
Yeah, no kidding. The Connor Bedard goalies. For awards and accomplishments, he's a 1-time Vezina winner, 1-time King Clancy Memorial Trophy winner, 1-time NHL First All-Star Team, and also a 2-time NHL All-Star Game selection. For his career, he had 303 wins, 297 losses, 87 ties, with a .906 save percentage, 2.71 goals against average, and 35 shutouts. Kolzig made the playoffs in 6 of his 17 NHL seasons. compiling stats of 20 wins, 24 losses, a goals against average of 2.14, .927 save percentage, and 6 shutouts in 45 NHL playoff games played. The best season of his NHL career, I am going with his 1999-2000 season where Kolzig won the Vezina Trophy. For the season, Kolzig had 41 wins, 20 losses, 11 ties, with a 2.24 goals against average, .917 save percentage, and 5 shutouts in 73 regular season games played. Again, I just love when these guys played almost every game. That's just awesome.
Okay, you're showing a picture of him.
Yep.
It'll be hard to describe if you're not watching on YouTube, but I just want you to. What are your thoughts on that iteration of the Capitals jersey? Are you a fan of that? Like the big eagle kind of swooping down with the stars and the feather
I
wings?
don't think I was at the time, but then it's like the retro stuff kind of has a special fondness, so I think I like it now.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah. While Kolzig was drafted in 1989, it actually took him quite a while before he established himself as a regular NHL player. In fact, it wasn't until his 1996-97 season or his age 26 season that Kolzig played a season in the NHL without having to go down and play in the minors. With that said, Kolzig started at least 50 games from 1997-98 through the 2007-08 season. Yeah, so this is one of those guys. He's a perfect example of goalies developing later.
Did they get to work that hard in the minors too?
Say that. Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I would guess so. I don't know. Minors, you probably want to run them a little more evenly because you want to see what you have. But I actually don't know the true answer on that, but that would be my thought.
I'm just saying he probably played a lot of games before the NHL.
Oh, yeah. Kolzig is currently working as a development coach for the Washington Capitals. He is also part owner of the Tri-City Americans of the WHL. Kolzig has also been involved with various charities that help raise funds and awareness for autism research. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm giving away a fun fact. Yes, I am, by this picture. Because as you noticed, I never mentioned that he won a cup as a player, but we'll get to that. For his fun, interesting facts, this is getting sad on some of these nominees. I'm not finding very many good things. It's kind of hard to find a lot of good write-ups with some fun stuff in it. His nicknames, though, Godzilla, Olie The Goalie, Zilla, and Colezilla. I think Olie The Goalie is my favorite by far.
I think that's what's the first thing I think of when I think of Olaf Kolzig is Olie The Goalie.
For sure. Kolzig won the Stanley Cup not as a player, but as a coach with the Washington Capitals in 2018. So he does have his name on the cup. Kolzig holds the Washington Capitals all-time goalie records in games played, wins, shutouts. He's tied with Braden Holtby on shutouts and career points for a goalie. He also holds some other ones, but I'm not going to get into those. They're like losses just because he played so many games with them. He's going to hold some of those less dubious records.
Troy, do you know if the goalie coaches get their name on the cup?
I would, if they're on the coaching staff, I would assume so. It's weird though. Goalie coaches are kind of this weird thing. I don't think it really in the NHL. They're listed as coaches usually, but in college, they're always volunteer assistants. There's like there might be some crazy NCAA rule about goalie coaches or something, but they're always listed as like these volunteer guys. Or maybe that's just
discrimination.
Yeah, no one wants to pay them basically.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our little brief rundown of Olie Kolzig. I can't say his name. Olaf Kolzig. Let's look at his rookie card, Josh, because this is fun. All right, if you're watching on YouTube, his rookie card is a 1990-91. I went with the Score American number 392. And Josh, here we go. We have one of my favorite issues with the card, the uncorrected error card. I love these. So here is a picture on the screen of Olaf Kolzig's Score American rookie card. Only problem is that's not him on the front of it. That is Don Beaupre.
Was Steve Larmer? Is he the other one?
Steve Larmer is the other guy. I can never remember whose picture's on his card. Jeremy said it 100 times. I keep forgetting who it is. And I actually did even a thing on it because I think I used that card once for the PWCC. But yeah, Don Beaupre is on the front of it. Now, if you look at the back of the card, there he is. That's Kolzig. He's on the back of the card, so that's nice. But the front is Don Beaupre, which just cracks me up because Beaupre was a Minnesota goalie for a while, North Stars goalie. All right, there's also a Score Canadian version of this card, and it also has the same exact issue. The Score American has more graded copies at PSA, so I'm going to look at that one very quickly, as that is his rookie card I'm going with. So his Score American has a PSA 10 pop of 30 with a gem rate of 30%. So our smart listeners can figure out how many graded copies there are by that, but it's 100 if you want to know. The last sale I could find was on June 5th of this year for $100 US via eBay.com and verified in Terapeak. So that's what we got for our boy Kolzig.
Olie the goalie.
Olie the goalie.
All right, Troy. Great job. Well, we're kind of going to start. We're going to get back to our rookie deep dive. We're profile yet another player. But our rookie deep dive, Troy, is where we let listeners and our social followers vote on a rookie they most want to learn more about, who's making an impact in the NHL this season. And we've been working our way through the NHL rookie leaderboard, still sort of avoiding the biggest names to save them a little bit later for closer to the Series 2 release. But there's still plenty of interesting players to look at. Before we get into this week's candidates, I want to run through the list of 2023-24 rookies we've already dove in on. So here's the list. Matthew Nyes, episode 80. Luke Hughes, episode 84. Devin Levi, episode 125. Matthew Coronado, 127. Dustin Wolf, 129. Ridley Gregg, 131. Marco Rossi, 135. And then last week was Matthew Poitras, episode 135. So this week's candidates, Troy.
Yes.
We did another poll on Instagram. Still running Brock Faber in there.
Yep.
Yaroslav Askarov, Bobby Brink, and then Pavel Mintyukov. And it was one of the closest weeks we've had. For I think with like an hour left, Brock Faber and Mintyukov were tied.
Wow.
I was getting to the point where I'm like, well, what do we do if there's a tie? Do I do another poll? Do I just get to pick? Yeah, but in the end, Pavel Mintyukov came on top with 32% of the vote, followed by 28% with Brock Faber, and then Bobby Brink and Yaroslav Askarov each had 20%. So that makes this week's rookie deep dive subject, of course, Pavel Mintyukov. Now, had you ever heard of him before this season?
I think I remember reading about him in one of Corey Pronman's articles on The Athletic about the draft. And I didn't know when he was drafted, but the name sounds familiar. I've never watched him or anything. Can't tell you a thing about him on the ice.
I'm very similar to you. I think I may have seen it in like one or two articles, but really did not know much about him. And Troy, this is going to come as a great shock and surprise, but you'd never be able to guess from his name, Pavel Mintyukov, he's actually Russian.
Russian, huh? Well, I'd guess Russian or Czech, but yeah, pretty distinctive last name.
Pretty distinctive last name. He's 6'1", 192 pounds, left-handed shot, only 19 years old, a defenseman, and currently Troy plays for your Anaheim Ducks. Was the 10th overall pick, very high selection in the 2022 NHL entry draft, and was the fourth defenseman, though, taken in the top 10 picks. So a big draft for defensemen at the top of the order there. You had Simon Nemec, number 2 overall by the New Jersey Devils, David Urasek, number 6 to Columbus, and then Kevin Korchinski, number 7 to Chicago, followed by Mintyukov at number 10 for the Ducks. Prior to the NHL draft, though, of course, he was drafted by the CHL first in 2020, where he was selected 52nd overall by the Saginaw Spirit. You're a big fan. Unfortunately, though, of course, the 2020 CHL season was canceled due to the pandemic, so his career with the Spirit had to kick off in 2021-22, where he produced 17 goals, 45 assists for 62 points in 67 games played. Not bad for a defenseman. And then he started last season back with the Spirit, had 16 goals, 38 assists, 54 points, 37 games played. or in the first 37 games played, but then was traded, Troy, to the old Ottawa 67s, where in the final 32 games, he had 8 goals, 26 assists for 34 points, giving him last season a grand total of 88 points in 69 games played in the CHL between Saginaw and Ottawa. So he was drafted, then sent back to the minors, and was more than a point per game guy as a defenseman at 18 years old last year. Mintyukov made the Ducks out of training camp this season and really hasn't looked back since. Through 18 games played, he has a goal and 9 assists for 10 points, which currently ranks him 4th on the rookie scoring leaderboard for the 2023-24 season, tied with Luke Hughes, who has the exact same stats. So they both have a goal and 9 assists. And all the word out of the Ducks organization and through media and the beat writers is that the team is thoroughly impressed with Mintyukov's debut so far, and they've remarked how almost instantly comfortable he was, kind of Brock Faber-esque, where looks like a seasoned veteran almost right from the get-go. Apparently he's listening to coaching, approving quickly.
So he's the opposite of Trevor Zegras. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
From the coaching standpoint.
Oh, shots fired by, I guess, in the media by the Ducks. Or Kalen Addison, right? Who we just shipped out.
Yeah.
As I often like to do with these rookie deep dives, I kind of dug into his scouting profile, and I found this from the Hockey Writers, where there's a great quote from Brock Otten from McKean's, I think it was like a draft service. So here's what Brock says about Pavel Mintyukov. I believe he has the highest upside of any defenseman available. His small area skill is just insane for a defender. He makes plays miss on a nightly basis and loves to play deep in the offensive zone. The building blocks are there for him to develop into the type of defender who consistently produces offensively at the NHL level. Now, as a hockey card collector, it's like ding, ding, ding. I like that. But I do have a question for you. When they're talking about small area skill, is that a common sort of coaching phrase or what does that mean?
Well, just plays in tight, pucks close to your body. Think about making moves on players or scrums in front of a net, getting stick on stick, all that stuff. We have in USA hockey, I'm sure they do it in Canada too. There's a huge focus on small area games, and that's exactly to work on your skill in small areas. You want to force everything into a small space and make you work on stick handling, using your body, positioning yourself in that small area, because that's a lot of hockey is played in a small area. It's a lot of wide open. It's, pucks get in the zone, and now it's a scrum and all that stuff.
Okay, cool. Looking at cards, to this point, there are not any NHL uniform cards for Mintyukov. He does have a few CHL cards from the 2022-23 release. Only been 21 sales to date of any card, so not a lot of activity. And so I kind of picked one out just because I thought it was sort of cool. On November 13th, this Pavel Mintyukov CHL Future Heroes Red out of 99 sold for $49 US, which probably is a decent amount for a player like this and a card like that. Now, as far as will he be a Series 2 Young Gun or will he end up in Extended? I have no idea. I don't really get how they determine which goes and what, but I assume he'll be in one of the releases. And for guys like this, I kind of hope they're in Extended a little bit just because I know Series 2 will be so stacked. But yeah, that's Pavel Mintyukov, the upstart defenseman for the Anaheim Ducks. Okay, need to make a quick mention for Gongshow partner and sponsor Slab Sharks. Of course, many thanks to them for their support of our show. The current Slab Sharks weekly auction is live, ends tonight, ends on Thanksgiving here in the U.S. It's their biggest auction ever with over 3,500 cards, which many or most, I would say, are hockey cards. Do yourself a favor as you're full of turkey and you can't stand your family anymore if you're an American. Because Thanksgiving can get a little rough. Go to slabsharks.com for a link to the auction and be sure to check out the auction. And there's just awesome cards in there. And every week, Troy, their auctions seem to get bigger and bigger. If you're a Canadian hockey card collector, which I think just means you're Canadian, then we'd recommend checking out Slab Sharks for their eBay consignment services. They make it very easy to sell your cards via eBay, well, because they do all the work. They take the photos, they list the cards, they answer all the buyer questions. They hunt down payments. They ship to the U.S. and Canada and handle any post-sale issues. You just send them your cards or drop them off at a show because they seem to be everywhere,
Yep.
and just then wait to get paid, I guess, at that point. So head to slabsharks.com for complete consignment info, including payout rates, and to get started consigning your cards with them today. Happy news!
Happy news. Do it.
I could not pass up this first story.
I know. That's awesome.
Did you see this before?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, our Iowa Wild did something amazing. They did a promo night and unveiled these Star Wars themed jerseys. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. If you're listening, go to Twitter, search for Iowa Wild, and you'll find posts with the jerseys on them. They are awesome and amazing. I guess that they wore them for a game or two this past weekend, then are going to auction them off to benefit the Des Moines public schools. So it, instead of the Iowa Wild, it says Iowa Wookiees. There's kind of a cartoony but cool looking Chewbacca holding a hockey stick. And I don't know, I made the connection. I don't know if this was intended, but typically you have rookies down in the AHL.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of funny to me that there's Wookiees, and then below it there's like a bunch of gibberish.
Yeah.
And it says "Let the Wookiee win," and apparently that's writes out "Let the Wookiee win" in Galactic Basic Standard, which is some sort of language that I guess is in Star Wars.
Yeah,
that I've never heard
we're
of.
not the biggest Star Wars nerds. I mean, I do like the movies. I watched them as a kid. But it has to, I'm assuming it has to do something when they were playing that chess game, right? And I'm sure Han Solo told someone to let the Wookiee win. Or he'll rip your arms off or something, if I remember right. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. It's just awesome. I'm sure other minor league teams do stuff like this, but I would buy one of these jerseys.
Oh, yeah. And I wish they could do a patch card with the Wookiee head, a jumbo patch with the Wookiee head, but
on the CHL set or something like that. That would be like a Jesper Wallstedt with a Wookiee patch.
Yes, but too bad. Or I mean, not too bad. They're going to auction it off for good cause. And I was trying to. I think you might have mentioned there's the hidden W's you can find in the trees.
Yeah,
they're all over the place if you look for them. I'm sure this is supposed to be something in the tape, but yeah, it's awesome.
It got me thinking about the NHL teams, and I'm assuming they can't do stuff like this. There's pretty strict rules about changing your logo to a sponsor or something like that.
Yeah, it seems like you can do an older team, you can wear the North Star jerseys every once in a while, or the Hartford Whalers, which I don't know if we mention that Carolina, I think, is going to do a Hartford Whaler night, or they might have already did it, but they're going to wear the Cooperalls
in warm-ups, I believe.
In warm-ups, that makes sense then.
Yeah, I don't think you can wear them in games because they're dangerous.
Yeah, they're dangerous.
One other story here is I saw the NHL is planning a 4-team international tournament for 2025 that will include rosters of NHL players. So I guess in addition to reviving the World Cup of hockey and also efforts to get NHL players back in the 2026 Olympics, they're planning this event in 2025.
Okay.
In order to pull it off, the NHL must come to an agreement with the NHLPA and kind of get all the logistics going, because when you read the article, they said that it's a very compressed timeline to organize an event like this from scratch as of right now. So the idea is the tournament would consist of teams from the US, Canada, Sweden, and Finland. There'd be no Russian team because both the NHL and international hockey communities have banned Russian athletes from competing under the Russian flag due to all the political stuff, and we're not a political show, so we're not going to get into it.
No.
But then, according to the NHL, due again to that compressed time frame, a larger format of teams wouldn't be possible. So it would also exclude teams like Germany or Czech Republic, and there's a lot of good German hockey players right now. In Czechia and Czech Republic and all those sort of countries. So it wouldn't be like a best of the best kind of tournament, given, of course, many of the NHL players great players are from countries outside the US, Canada, Sweden, and Finland. Which I don't know how it kind of makes me think, well, why are you doing this? it feels a little weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like this isn't like replacing the World Cup, right? This is something totally separate.
Yes.
I'm wondering how much money they think they can make from this.
Now, I'm generally very pro
Yeah,
any sort of international exposure or unique things that the NHL can do to drum up interest or to the game and get more people then, of course, into the hobby. But I don't know. It's just like, well, it just seems weird not to have Leon Draisaitl or players like that. And I think that the players really want the best of the best concept that would
yeah,
be have more teams in it. So to make sure that the country of the best NHL players gets sorted out some way in that tournament. I do, Troy, have a quote from who I'm very positive is your favorite all-time sports league commissioner, as you call him, Mr. Gary Bettman.
yeah, Mr. Gary Bettman.
And he spoke on the fact that it is a limited format and that how they would like to have more teams. He said this: theoretically, that's important. As a practical matter, that may not be realistic, said Bettman of the 2025 Best on Best tournament. We might get there over time. We may have to evolve into a more inclusive World Cup. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, so it seems like this is their first shot at the World Cup coming back, but they're just going to make it this little best on best and see what happens. And just, I got to believe the owners hate this with a passion. I got to believe, like, I don't watch basketball at all, but I saw the NBA doing some kind of tournament, and
Yeah,
there's all these reports that the courts were horrible and players are
slippery. And
getting injured. And I'm like, this is an owner's nightmare. The teams probably hate this too. I mean,
I guess I would just be more in favor of them waiting and doing it right than trying to
yeah,
rush out some weird poorly team tournament. I guess US, Canada, Sweden, and Finland are probably the top hockey countries, but I'd be pretty peeved if I was from Germany about this
yeah. Well, I'm
or
curious when they're
Czech
going to
Republic.
run this. Is this like a winter thing? Is it during the season? Is it in the summer, spring? There's so many weird stuff you'd have to figure out.
And then if you really want to do like a best of the best, and again, there's so many political issues that probably I don't even
Yeah,
understand. But I'm going to take a just from a hockey perspective. Think how many great hockey players right now are Russian, and how do
yeah,
you have a tournament that excludes them, where at the end of the whoever wins says we're the best country of hockey? It's
yeah,
like, well, are you? Because and I guess that there's been talks about letting them play under neutral flags and all
yeah.
that stuff. So hopefully they sort it all out. Okay, Troy, it's time to get into the meat of our episode here.
All right.
We're gonna do our Connor Bedard hobby report card. We actually have not talked about Bedard much since the start of the season, which I'm kind of proud of ourselves on. As a the easy well to keep going back to would be the Connor Bedard well, but don't want to burn out on number 97 too early though. So we did think it's about time to check in, maybe review his performance. We're about 20% of the way now through the NHL season, of course, in his rookie campaign. And as Troy, you're the hockey cards professor, right? At
Sure.
Eastern Iowa Community College,
Yeah.
but so it's only appropriate that you grade his performance so far. And because every professor, Troy, needs a good TA, that sounds like a job for me. So we're gonna grade Mr. Bedard as fairly and accurately as we can, and we've divided his rookie season to date performance into the following categories, for which Troy and I will each assign a letter grade. And so we're gonna run through them now. I think there's like 7 or 8 categories that trying to look at his performance from just about every angle. So where I wanted to start on this, Troy, is really on the not so much on the ice, but on the personality and marketability side. And from the minute he joined the Blackhawks preseason program, there's been a huge spotlight on him pretty much constantly.
Yep.
The amount of attention, focus, and scrutiny on this kid who just literally turned 18 in July is incredible. I think sometimes we don't give people enough credit for what they can handle. Can you imagine yourself under that intense of a media focus at 18 years old?
Oh, it's got to be crazy, and I can't even imagine. This is hockey, so it's it can't be as worse than like an NBA player or football where it's a lot bigger audience. But yeah, the amount of the burnout, I can't believe he hasn't burned out yet from all the interviews, and every day it's something new and all that stuff. But he seems to be handling it pretty well so far.
Yeah, and for once, the NHL hasn't held back. I think
Yeah.
like his first 6 games were on national television. He's had reporters almost at him daily. He had 2 national TV games to start the season on back-to-back nights. And like you said, the pressure's just got to be unreal. And we've already seen lots of quotes from teammates or the coaching staff where, on one hand, like, just kind of like you said, they're marveling about how well he's handling it. But on the other hand, they're worried that it's like this
Yeah.
has to be too at some point this is going to be too much. But I don't know though too. It's like you look at the kid though, and it's like he's whether he did it himself or there was a group of people involved, it seems like for years they've kind of built him into this NHL star personality. He doesn't have fast food for gosh sakes or anything like that. And so his personality on one hand seems to me pretty cultivated or curated in a sense. Like he was built in a lab to be an NHL star.
When I saw that built in a lab, the first thing that came to mind, do you remember that quarterback? I think it was Todd Marinovich in the NFL. He was probably late 80s, maybe early 90s, but his parents were like 2 super athletes and they like came together to create this world-class kid.
Yeah.
And he made it. I don't know. I think he made the NFL for a little bit, but he kind of burned out and was kind of a mess and had problems. But it seems like Bedard has not had that happen either from the people around him or himself. Seems like he's kept himself pretty focused. And obviously we've seen where I've even said, I think he overtrains probably, but it seems to be working so far.
Well, and when you have this personality type, the worry too is that in addition to burnout, that they're kind of robotic and wooden. Like you'd say that about McDavid or maybe even Crosby to a certain extent, where they're so guarded too, and everything that they say that it harms their ability, I think, to connect with, because there's 2 ways that you connect with fans as a hockey player or any athlete, right? You connect basically by your performance on the ice, and then through your personality, which comes through whether it's being interviewed or being on a show or doing commercials or something like that. And that's where like I think critique Connor McDavid is he's been the most amazing hockey player on the ice, but kind of boring off it, right? And I don't think Bedard is Peyton Manning, of course, at this point to any stretch. He's not going to host Saturday Night Live anytime soon. But he has, though, Troy, shown some glimpses of his wit and personality, which has given me hope that he will be less guarded and a little more of a human being too. Like a lot of people point back to the Stanley Cup Finals where he was sort of roasting Paul Bissonnette on the TNT studio crew. So that was pretty awesome. And I just hope he can find that balance between, again, not being a total free spirit, but yet also not being too uptight. So that because I think that'll just make the job easier for him to connect with people and turn him into a star. But again, the NHL is all in and appears set just to do that. Like they want to make this kid the face of the league. So as you look at his personality, his marketability, how he's connected with people, I kind of give him a grade of a B in that regard. Where would you put it at?
I think I'm at a B plus. I would be at an A, but I knocked him for when he got all mad that some reporter walked on the Chicago Blackhawks logo. I think it's the absolute dumbest thing in sports where people get all mad. Don't put the logo on the floor then if you don't want people to walk on it. Put it on the ceiling like every smart team does. This whole getting mad someone walked on the logo thing and getting upset about it. I knocked him down a little bit for that.
Understandable. I think that's kind of weird too. I don't play those like superstitious games or anything like that. Okay, the next category that we're going to grade him on is eye test. It's kind of, some of these are a little subjective, of course. And fairness in conversation, I think I've watched maybe 4 or 5 games now. Have not seen him play in all 16 games. That's for sure. What I have seen though, personally, Troy, has been very impressive. And the first thing that stood out to me is you can tell the stage isn't too big for him.
Yeah.
Like panicking out there or that sort of stuff. Uh, Although he's definitely looked like a rookie at times. So, but he just again looks like he belongs. If anything that I could point out, maybe on the negative side, he seemed a little slow.
Hmm.
But I also wonder if, like, with most rookies, like once he feels adjusted to the game and the game slows down in your head, that your feet get faster at that point too. But that being said, if you go and you read any sort of pre-draft scouting reports or pre-draft analysis of Bedard, the big drawback that they point to is he's got very strong and powerful legs, but he's not very quick or fast. And so it'll be interesting to me to see how he adjusts to the NHL game, the speed of the NHL game, whether he finds a way within his sort of body type and skills and abilities to adjust and match that speed, or if he works on getting quicker and faster with coaching and stuff like that through the summer. But what have you noticed so far in the amount of times you've been able to see him play?
Yeah, I probably watched him for a handful, a couple games, 2, 3, but then highlights and stuff. And obviously his shot, we heard all about it. You watched
Yeah.
highlights on it. You see it all the time. He does that. It's just the weirdest shot. It just looks like it shouldn't go off like it does. And it does. He's smart. He's incredibly smart. Taking shots when he should. I mean, that I think it was the one goal where he got it from, I don't know, almost the goal line where he just kind of turned around and whacked it right in the net. He's smart. Obviously, I've seen the skating. At times, I think he gets not lost, but I don't think he's working as hard as he should. He's kind of standing watching, but hey, a lot of great players that are offensive threats do that. They're kind of looking to see where to go next. But yeah, if I had to grade him on eye test, I would probably be at that B plus A minus.
Okay. Yeah, I gave him an A minus. So pretty good so far for young Connor Bedard.
Yep.
All right, production. Now here's more quantifiable. So through 16 games played, young Connor has 9 goals, 6 assists for 15 points. That leads all 2023-24 rookies in both goals scored and points, Troy.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Cooley is second in points with 12, but he only has 2 goals. Where Anaheim's Leo Carlson is second in goals with 6, but only has 2 assists. So at 9 goals, 6 assists for 15 points in 16 games, Bedard's 82 game pace is currently 46 goals and 77 points. Now, Troy, if that's where he finished the season with 46 goals, that would end up being the 5th most goals ever in a rookie season, behind Teemu Selanne, who had 76 goals in 1992-93, Mike Bossy, who had 53 goals in 77-78, Ovechkin, who had 52 in 2005-06, and Joe Nieuwendyk, who had 51 in 1987-88. So he's off to a pretty close to a historic pace in goals. I don't think he would catch Timu,
No.
but he could move into the top 3 if he heats it up a little bit as the season progresses. He's not doing as great on the points standpoint. His points pace again is 77. That would put him at 26th all time, tied with Artemi Panarin and Marcel Dion. In case you're wondering too, Troy, there's 7 players who have scored 100 points or more in their rookie season. So that'd be Teemu Selanne, Peter Stastny, Alex Ovechkin, Dale Hawerchuk, Sidney Crosby, Joe Juneau, and Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, look at when the last time was it 2005? Is that the latest player on there?
Yeah, both Ovi and Crosby.
Yeah, I don't know when Joe Juneau played, but yeah, that's another thing with today's game, analytics, all the stuff teams can find out on players. It'll be hard for a rookie to get 100 points ever again, but it could happen.
Well, I kind of want to make this comment to not explain away the fact that his point production is much less than his goal production, but to some degree, right, the amount of assists you can generate depends on your teammates a little bit too. And as of right now, Chicago stinks.
Yeah.
As a team, they're 30th of 32 teams in goals scored per game, only averaging 2.5 goals. They're 30th in assists as well, or in total assists. They have 10 points in the standings, Troy. That's only ahead of San Jose, who's at 7. So they're not very good. And of course, I haven't seen every Bedard game, but number one, he doesn't have great offensive players. He has no Leon Draisaitl to pass it to at this point. And I'm not sure he's getting a lot of easy goals fed to him either
Yeah.
by teammates. So to me, that makes what he's done to this point, given it's only his first 16 games, all that much more impressive. So I'm going to give him a grade of B+ for his production.
Yeah, I think I'd probably met an A-, given the fact that his team and I don't know. Maybe I should be a little bit lower, but I think he's done everything I would expect him to do for his talent, given the team he's playing for. I think he started out a little slow. I think we were all worried after the first couple of games. We're like, uh-oh, what's going to happen? But then he's picked it up and he's showing us the player he's going to be. So I'm at an A-.
Okay. A little bit higher than me. Next category is impact to the league and his team. So I found this the other day and I sent it to you on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now.
Yep.
A very eye-opening. And I'll probably have you explain this because you'll know more about it than I will. But so a guy named Ben Pope, who's a writer for the Chicago Sun-Times, retweeted this data post from a November 20th, a service or kind of guy that does analytics for hockey, Shutdown Lines. Are you familiar with them, Troy?
No, I'm not actually familiar with them. And I was curious because obviously I see that he's to the far right. I have no clue what the scale is on this thing, if it's just a combination of shots, passes, zone entries, or what formula they're using or anything. But
yeah,
it's a data point. I mean, it's really impressive. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, so it tracks they said microstat game score, which is comprised of shots, passes, zone entries, and zone exits.
Yeah, so
And
I know there's a game score stat Dom Luszczyszyn created at The Athletic that's used by all NHL teams. They all use it. I wonder if this is some kind of subset of that. Yeah.
Okay. And they use it, I guess the Shutdown Lions uses it as a way to measure the most impactful players of the NHL. And so far, according to whatever calculation it uses, Connor Bedard is the most impactful player in the NHL. Followed by Nathan McKinnon, who's second, Nikita Kucherov, Martin Necas, and Leon Draisaitl. Those are the top 5. Number 6, by the way, 36-year-old Sidney Crosby, which is pretty impressive, I would say, to say the least. And then of the top 17 players, too, it's also, I got to point it out, Troy, that are shown on the list that no Connor McDavid on this metric. So
nope, I wouldn't.
It's still an interesting start to the season for him. Yeah. So is this something that it doesn't sound like you exactly know what to make of it, or big deal? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I would have to look into what the actual formula is.
I would say, though, the one thing you could point to is regardless of the metric or how it's comprised, anything that Connor Bedard is leading the NHL in as a rookie with only 16 games under his belt is probably pretty impressive. But beyond that, Troy is leading the Blackhawks in points. He's had a huge impact in ticket sales. The team is reporting a 10% increase in season ticket sales, a 17% expected increase in total ticket sales, and a 26% higher than expected revenue growth over their initial 2023-24 projection. So he's making an impact on the ice, and he's making an impact in their bank account as well, too. He's impacting TV viewership as well. His debut game averaged 1.43 million viewers, which was the most ever for a regular season game, excluding the Winter Classic. And we've talked about this stat before too, since the 2023 NHL entry draft, he leads the league in jersey sales. So he's crushing it in TV ratings, leading the league in jersey sales, making a lot of money for the Blackhawks, and he's doing well on the ice. And again, we've talked about this a little bit, though. The one area he hasn't had impact in is the Blackhawks in the standings. They're currently in last place in the Central Division, 5-11-0 record, 16 games played. So they're not good. And it makes you kind of imagine, what if he was one of these guys that landed on a contending team or a team that's maybe a little more developed or matured? What his production could be at that point. So, but that being said, though, right, you don't get the number 1 overall pick when you're good. So it makes sense that for these next couple of years that he's going to be on a team that struggles a little bit. So if you grade his overall impact to the league, the Blackhawks, this is where I give him an A+.
Big time in him. I'm
Big
gonna go
time in
A. I went with A. Sure. I mean, maybe the Blackhawks need to win a couple more games. I'd give him an A+, but you can't argue with how much of an impact he's had on the league for sure.
Next category is now, we talk about impact on the league. Let's talk about impact on the hobby and market impact. We've been reporting a lot about this kid for over a year now, and really the extraordinary impact he's had on the hobby market. There's been no precedence in the history of the hobby regarding the chase and fervor for Connor Bedard pre-NHL cards.
Mm-hmm.
So to date, 368 cards between his pre-NHL MVP and Tim Hortons redemptions. I guess if you add in a Series 1 Easter egg, have sold for more than $1,000. 1,088 cards have sold for more than 500. This guy's played 16 games.
Yeah.
It's staggering how big the chase has been to this point. And in total, Troy, according to Card Ladder, 11,175 Connor Bedard cards have sold publicly. So if you go back to our rookie deep dive where we're talking about Pavel Mintyukov, he's had 21 cards ever sell publicly. Bedard is at 11,175. That's crazy. It's just crazy. And then beyond that, we're sitting at $300 pre-sales on US on Series 2 hobby boxes. And that's, again, it ain't because of the speculation that Mintyukov could be in Series 2. It's because of Connor Bedard. And I would say maybe more so than any other prospect in NHL history, he has changed the hobby market. We know McDavid changed the hobby market, but box prices did not double. There weren't hundreds of sales over $1,000 of McDavid pre-NHL cards. And as a result, one of the things that is really tough for us is we get asked all the time to predict this or that about the Connor Bedard market. And every time I try to reason it and I try to think, okay, I got to answer this person's question, I always go back to the fact that the hobby situation around Bedard is completely unprecedented. Of course, which means there's nothing in the past that you can point to or compare it to. So it's so hard to predict anything in the future, right? Like people will ask, well, our boxes, Series 2 hobby boxes, are they going to be more than 300? Are they going to stay 300? Are they going to be less? And it's like, we've never had pre-sales that have more than doubled. So how do you predict? And so I look at his impact to the hobby, and this is another where I just give him an A+, because he's changing the hobby in dramatic ways. And I didn't even bring up the whole fact that about how all the other 2022 products right now aren't selling well as a result.
Yeah.
It's like you said, he's fundamentally changing the market. What do you think?
Yeah, I give him A+ for the hobby. Should we give the collectors like a D then? Because we're paying so much for these cards.
I don't know.
I don't know. It could be you could be getting them for a steal. You never know.
That's true. And people will point to, and I get when people say that, oh, these are new collectors or novice collectors. As soon as his young guns come out, all these cards are going to go way down. And that is, I think, the logical, right, if sort of perspective on the issue. But then part of me goes back to nothing has been made sense at this point. And so would I be shocked if his CHL high gloss or Team Canada Juniors high glosses are still selling for $6,000 a year from now? Probably not. Right. It's like just shrug and okay, more Connor Bedard craziness. Okay, next category I want to look at is cards to date. So this is more not grading Bedard, but grading Upper Deck and their response to Connor Bedard phenomenon, of course, rather than anything the kid's done himself. So Upper Deck, I think, probably did a really good job taking full advantage of the hype during his pre-NHL career, producing cards in their CHL sets, Team Canada Junior sets. There's tons of parallels, number cards, high glosses, 101s, finite, right, cards. And so many records have been set, and they've garnered the highest sales of really any player for pre-NHL cards ever. So if you look at, Troy, the Upper Deck CHL set, tell me if this is impressive. The top 16 sales ever are Connor Bedard cards.
That makes sense.
It makes sense. If you then look at the Team Canada Junior sets, the top 17 sales all time are Connor Bedard cards. So he's just kind of owned the sales for those products. To this point, too, he's mainly had the standard or what you'd expect NHL cards, of course, mostly redemptions, as we're kind of in that release schedule. But when you look at his MVP redemption, 196 total sales for that card, highest sale being 2,307 US for a gold redemption on September 18th. 52 of the Tim Hortons Bedard redemptions have sold, one going for as high as 1,089 US on October 5th. But then, of course, the most noteworthy card is the surprise 2023-24 Series 1 Easter egg. On our show, Billy Celio detailed kind of the mountains that they had to climb and move to make this card happen. They had to get approval from the NHL. They had a really compressed time frame to do it. So I'm not sure it's reasonable to expect on a card like this. I'm personally not a big fan of portrait cards. It's very obviously, pre-rookie photo shoot. Would prefer, of course, any NHL card being on the ice. But like I said, I'm sure they really had limited other options. Now I could find 243 sales to date for this Bedard Easter egg, with the top sale 2,269 US on November 16th via eBay, and of course verified as paid in Terapeak. I think the question on this card, though, is what should the ideal print run have been? They're not super short print, of course, by any means, nor are they in every box. I'm also not sure how many cases there's been an Easter egg, Troy, with this high of a print run either, which I did think initially kind of created some consternation in the hobby, because people were like, Easter egg, this is all over the place. I think that you hear that and you think, well, maybe there's 10 copies, maybe there's 50. And so if you have to it's an interesting question to me, like a balancing act, where could there be too little made where not enough people could kind of have the satisfaction of that chase, or if there's too many, and what would be better in your mind? As I was thinking about it, I think it might have been better if this card was maybe numbered to 99 or 199, so it's out there enough and enough people can get it, but you don't have the perception that maybe exists right now, where it's like, are there thousands of these? Which I don't think there is, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think there's a lot more than we think there is, because
Really?
you look on eBay and they're all over the place. But maybe that's just because everyone that gets one's like, I got to sell this thing and make a bunch of money. Yeah, I like the card. I do wish it was. I would like maybe to go the numbered route, even if it has to be out of 499 or something like that. That wouldn't bother me that much. It's definitely a cool card. I like Easter eggs, but to me, I don't generally think Easter egg means short print. Some people do. To me, Easter egg is just something that's not on the checklist that shows up.
I think definitionally you're right that's what the intended, but I kind of always think they're that when I hear Easter egg, that does mean that they're short printed, but maybe that's a false perception that I have.
Yeah, it could be just because of 16 bits. Was that the most recent one? I'm sure there's been other Easter eggs, but that was a big one. And we know those are hard to hit. They are not that frequent.
Or Fanimation, right?
Yeah,
those
Fanimations
to hit would be another example. The other relevant card topic that I think we need to mention in evaluating sort of how his cards have been executed to this point is the Series 2 Young Guns decision. And believe me, I get all the issues preventing him from being in Series 1. And to their credit, Upper Deck has been really honest and open about it, which is great because they help us understand why some of these happens. And from that understanding, I think the two primary reasons are, well, they have an agreement with the NHL that the player has to have skated in a game in order to qualify for a Young Guns. It could be in their NHL jersey.
Yeah.
And then Upper Deck has moved a good amount, at least, of their printing overseas, which of course adds time for shipping and customs to get the product back to the US and then out for distribution. Now, those very good reasons aside, Troy, I still wonder if it would have been better for all parties in the hobby for him to have been in Series 1. And because it's not like he came out of nowhere. It's not like he's one of these guys that weren't expected to make the team, and all of a sudden we've known this is happening for personally 18 months, so I'm sure they've known a lot longer than that. And the hype has just been building for so long. So I break it down into like the risk reward I guess, choice there. If he's in Series 1, the reward for a lot of people in the hobby is instant and automatic. If he's in Series 2, the risk is his play will factor in to the continued level of his hype, and if he falters, that could have a negative impact. He's leading the league in goals for rookies and scoring, which is awesome. What if he had a Slavkovsky right now?
Yeah.
He's sitting on a goal and assist.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, do you think that people would be, I guess,
Well, Series 2 boxes wouldn't be $300. They still might be up a lot, but they're not going to be 300 or whatever they're sitting at right now, US.
So I've contended it would have been a like an automatic win for everyone to be in Series 1, and maybe more planning could have gone, but I guess maybe Upper Deck wouldn't have known either if he was going to make the
Yeah,
team.
I think
or
it's
the
dang near.
Blackhawks.
I think it's impossible for them to get him to Series 1 with how the printing, the logistics in Italy, and the time it would needed by the time he hits the NHL ice in his first jersey or his first game. I just think there's no way they could do it.
Then I kind of had this realization too that this whole time I've been kind of beating the Series 1 drum. It's like I've been sort of looking at it from the point of view of people that are selling cards like Upper Deck or David Adams or card shops. And it's like, well, heck, I'm a collector. Maybe it's better that he's in Series
Yeah.
2. Then we can see him play for 2/3 of a season before it comes out and not have to shell out $1,000 for a card for a guy who's played 3 games in his life
Yeah.
at that point. So I don't know. Maybe ultimately will be a good thing he was in Series 2. So I look at the whole execution of his cards, and I give the grade a solid B.
Yeah, I'm probably at a B plus. I like the Easter egg. I thought it was pretty cool they got it in there. I think there's too many. I would like to see it numbered.
Okay, one more category before we kind of do an overall grade, and that's living up to expectations. So this is another kind of tough one. It's very subjective, right? It's the eye of the beholder. Everyone to some degree has different probably expectations of Connor Bedard. And then there's a part of me that has wondered a lot if it's even possible for this kid to live up to the hype and expectations that have already been set by both NHL fans and collectors. And he's been, again, so impressive in how he's handled everything at 18 years old. I think that bears repeating too. But I want to focus on more on the hobby hype. My fear or concern, Troy, is that with this completely unprecedented hype, that the volume of cards sold and insane, ridiculous prices, we've kind of said it over and over again. We just saw, we did a post today about a Tops Now sticker that sold for $1,100.
Mm-hmm.
No other hockey player besides Connor Bedard has sold Tops Now stickers for more than $1,000. It's every day. It's something you just kind of laugh about, right? There's been Team Canada junior cards that have sold for $8,000, $12,000 US respectively. We have pre-sale prices for flagship and Series 2 at $300 US a box, right? And then who knows what his initial base Young Guns values are going to be when they come out. You'd have to assume they're going to be astronomical at this point. So it kind of brings you all back to that question. What would he have to do this year to possibly live up to all this? Like his 46 goals, 77 points. Does that justify the thousands and thousands of dollars in prices? Is there, he's still a human being for gosh sake, right? Or are we just headed for an inevitable kind of come down or correction where it's like the expectations are so that no player could possibly live up to them? I don't know. Do you have a perspective on that?
I was thinking if he stays a point per game player, I think prices stay kind of where they're at, elevated. But you got to remember too, I think it was Karn that might have said this, that they're seeing other people that aren't hockey people coming into the hobby just because of Connor Bedard. And that's going to elevate prices and probably sets it up for a decline if he doesn't keep producing at a point per game or higher level. So that's something that worries me. I think there's a lot of expectations. I think he's meeting them right now. I think we're all a little crazy when if you thought he could get the Teemu Selanne goal records or anything. I just don't think it will be there. But man, it's super elevated right now. I think the percentage is higher, greater than 50, that it comes back to reality. However, I think if he stays at a point per game player and more, it's going to stay right there. Yeah.
So as far as how he's lived up to the expectations, I'm giving him like an A minus. Again,
Oh
I
yeah,
think the expectations are so high that I don't know how you could possibly do it, but he's close. So I don't. What would you put the grade at?
I'd probably put it in A. I think he's doing great, and actually, I could probably go A minus. I guess I'd give him A if he was doing more than I thought he would, but I think he's right where a lot of people thought he would be, even for a slow start. I think he's picked it up.
Okay, so Troy, it's time for our final grade, the GPA.
Yep.
Will mom and dad be mad? You get $20 for an A, $10 for a B, $5 for a C, whatever it is. We're 20% of the way into his rookie season. I'd say all things considered, he's off to a pretty awesome start
Yeah.
on the ice. And of course, the Connor Bedard Hobby Express continues to steam down the tracks, as they might say. Would it be better if he had 15 goals at this point? Sure. Remember, though, too, he did have that ticky-tack, like, offsides
Yeah.
call, the one goal called back. So small sample size, but
Yeah.
he's been good. He's leading all rookies in scoring, overcoming a not so great team to this point. And so I think Troy, as a hobby, we can breathe a collective sigh of a relief. Like it's
Yep.
happening. Everything that, and it would be kind of disastrous if he stunk. Right. So
Yep.
I give him an A for what he's done to this point,
Oh, yeah.
20% into his rookie season.
Yeah, I agree.
What's your thoughts?
I'm right in A. I think he's done everything we could expect of him. He's 18. It's kind of crazy with all the pressure and everything we talked about in the first 7 segments that we looked, or sections of this overview. I think he's right. He's at an A for me. I think the only thing that stops him is an injury. It seems like, and he can only get better, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He should only get better. Now,
face-offs, right? When that first game was awesome, where
yeah,
Crosby destroyed him on the dot.
And then there's, the whole team aspect too. And what do the Blackhawks do? How do they build around him? Do they support him, or whatever happens with them?
Yeah. All right. Any other closing Bedard thoughts to this point?
No, I think it's been going well. Now you just got to win the Calder.
Okay, we're going to switch over to new product releases. 2022-23 Stature's out today. So I've been up at the cabin all day, and normally I would be Johnny on the spot at our local card shop, knocking on the door at 11 when they open and be like, give me some, give me my Stature. But here I'm up at the cabin. Said they were cabin. I'm drinking pop and I'm taking saunas. Get more Minnesota than that, Troy. Well,
Duluth. Is there any card shops in Duluth?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it's like 2 hours away.
Oh, your dedication.
Now, if our show keeps growing, I'm gonna have to build a card shop out here in the woods so that on release day and when at the cabin we can get our product. So
yeah,
had a little bit of FOMO today, but I did watch a number of breakers on Whatnot and other apps ripping through cases, and I'm gonna say, Troy, it made me more excited about this release. On camera, these cards look awesome. The base cards look great. The foiling around the border this year, and maybe these guys just have better lighting now, they're all up in their game a little bit. But man, the cards popped. And Troy, the Wonderkin cards that we were kind of questioning or couldn't exactly make up our mind on, just to get them in hand and in the right lighting, just look awesome. So we're showing on YouTube one breaker all for the hobby. I think he's a Whatnot breaker. Yeah, he is Whatnot. He pulled this on release day. It's the 101 Wonderkind rookie patch auto for Owen Power. Pretty cool. The patch is a little, they actually did the
patch,
but I just love the colors and I love the parallels of the Wonderkind.
Yeah,
they're more common than I thought. They're one a box, so a lot of them is the base on a 150. But you get into some of these. I think there's a red parallel and there's other colors as well, maybe purple. They look just awesome. I always ask guys that are breaking or try to listen in on condition. They said condition is really good. The surfaces look good. If you remember a couple years ago, Stature, there's a lot of scratches on surfaces out of the pack.
Bubbly autos was an issue a couple years ago.
Oh, here's the bummer. You ready for it?
Oh,
Not a huge deal, but I can confirm both Beniers and Slavkovsky are redemptions.
Oh, of course.
So that kind of stinks when you have basically your two biggest rookies as redemptions. It's much better if they're live in the product, but I will say it's better than not having them at all in the product, which we've seen a little bit. That was kind of interesting too. I think I watched maybe 3.5 cases opened, and I didn't see a single patch card.
Mm.
So I don't think I think the patch autos and rookie patch autos are a little tougher chases, maybe. I don't know, but the cards look awesome, and I was pretty much on the fence when we did our checklist overview, but I'm pretty excited to get my hands on it now. Did you by chance have you're probably coaching all day, but did you
Yeah,
have time to
I didn't see anything. I probably won't even be able to look until tomorrow, and tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I don't know if anyone's breaking on Thanksgiving. Probably someone is, so I'll try to watch. But yeah, I didn't see anything today.
the hobby don't sleep, Troy.
I don't sleep.
Hobby don't sleep. All right, Troy, get ready, get excited.
No, I'm not getting excited about this. This is dumb.
Oh, this is amazing. So I got a shout out to T Olson.
Yeah.
T Olson 70 in our Gongshow Discord. He posted this. I honestly hadn't seen it. So this is on Steel City. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a pre-sales are up for a 2023-24 Upper Deck Connor Bedard collection set. So it's pretty vague. Well, it's actually really vague.
Yeah, it's super vague.
Rookie collection. Basically, there's a photo of the Upper Deck logo. And what I saw, well, maybe there's more information now, but earlier today in the product details, it said there was like 36 cards and 26 cards in one pack, and it's $25. And I just laughed because there's no pictures of anything. There's no pictures of cards. There's no box. It just says Connor Bedard pre-sale $25, and I'm sure it sold out in about 13 seconds.
Oh, I know. They need to work on their formatting of their table. They're trying to say numbering ratio, and then it's all crazy.
Oh,
yeah,
what does it say as far as breakdown?
So Connor Bedard highlights are 25-1. Connor Bedard award and honor cards, I guess 1 in every box. And then Connor Bedard award and honors autograph parallel says numbered to 5. They're not going to tell you how many of those are in there. So there's probably a little more detail than when you first look, but this just reminds me of those Laffy boxes when they came out. And they're going to be printed to the moon. Yes, you can get the autograph, but hey, just find one online. If you really are the big Connor Bedard guy, you'll find one for sale eventually, maybe.
To me, it's like a buy now, sell now.
Yeah.
Where before, like a lot of the cards that get talked about before Series 2 comes out, I will say one thing is it's $25. I think that's what the Laffy box set was too. So at least it's on 150.
Yeah.
So kudos to whoever like creates hobby pricing for letting sanity remain. And
yeah, I'm figuring these will be all over Target, Walmart. That's kind of and hobby shops will have them too.
So you haven't pre-ordered any then?
I have not pre-ordered any.
I think I'm out too. There's going to be so many cards.
Yeah.
And I got suckered into the Tops Now stickers, so it's not like I'm completely immune to this, but I'm going to stay away. Okay, Troy, it's Thursday. Got to talk about PWCC Gongshow partner sponsor. We're very, very grateful for their support. So they're doing a Black Friday giveaway.
Yep.
Every bid in this week's auction will receive an entry for a bunch of just awesome signed memorabilia that they're giving away. You can go to the website, PWCC Marketplace, and you can see right away they have like a banner for their Black Friday. Very cool promo. All you have to do is place bids in the weekly auction to get entry. The bid has to be accepted in order to qualify as an entry. So I'm assuming that you, like if the current bid is 100, you can't just bid like $1 over and over again.
It has to like get you in. Like you have to
be an accepted bid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be. Winners will be accepted or selected on December 4th. You can only win once, so you're probably in the middle of 400 bids right now. So you can. I didn't see any hockey.
No, I was gonna say we need to talk to PWCC, our contacts, about let's get some hockey guys. But I want the Travis Kelce because then I can try to get Taylor Swift's auto on it, and it would be worth $50,000.
You could retire immediately.
Yeah.
Another reminder to make sure you check out our weekly hockey auction watch party collaboration with the one, the only Jeremy Lee on Sunday nights on Jeremy's YouTube channel, Sports Cards Live, starting at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. We cover all the best hockey cards ending in the PWCC Weekly Auction. Normally learn a ton about the hobby and specific cards from Jeremy. If you ever wanted to know more about vintage cards, especially, Jeremy is like the hobby fountain of knowledge there. A lot of times, Troy, I'm just like, he's going on and it's amazing stuff. And I'm sitting there just mesmerized. And then it like hits me that, oh, yeah, Doofus, you're on the show too. And I have to remember that I, have to participate as well. But I just get kind of captivated by all the, and I've learned so much from it. So it's just awesome. Again, be sure to check it out Sundays at 8:30 Central Time PM. But it is Thursday. As we always do, we picked out our favorite cards, both vintage and modern, in the current PWCC Weekly Auction. We're going to start with our 3 favorite vintage cards, then move on to the modern side. So, Troy, the first card that stood out to me was a 1933 Goalie Sport Kings Eddie Shore. It's a rookie PSA 7. The card is a pop of 26, which is kind of big for bigger than I thought at PSA 7. There's actually 31 copies graded higher. There's 25 PSA 8s, 2 PSA 8.5s, and 4 PSA 9s. The Goalie Sport King set is a multi-sport card set. So it's not just hockey, it's athletes from all different kind of sports. Eddie Shore is one of 4 hockey players that appeared in the set. There's Howie Morenz for the Montreal Canadiens, Ace Bailey for the Maple Leafs. Every time I hear or see Ace Bailey's name, I think of like, you should be like a Kiss drummer or something. Ace Frehley, is that who that is?
I think it is Ace Frehley, yeah.
Ching Johnson, who played for the Rangers, so those are the other 3 aside from Eddie Shore. Other famous athletes, Troy, that appear in the 1933 Goalie Sport King set are Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Red Grange, Walter Hagen, and Jack Dempsey, just to name a few. So you got like golfer, goalie, baseball players, football player, right? Now, I've always, like, as a sports card collector, have always associated Goalie cards with Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
It's kind of real synonymous to me. And I hadn't seen this multi-card set, and I think it's pretty cool. It's the classic Goalie card size. So how would you describe it? It's like almost square, but a little bit taller than wide.
They're almost like that. That's a great way to do it. They're like almost a square. Just stop short of being a square.
And this one is a PSA 7, so there are a few issues. It's moderately off-centered, left to right. The corners and edges do look pretty good. Worst corner would maybe be the upper right one. There also might be a little bit of snowing on the card, so that's like where you see like in the background or some kind of white marks.
I feel that's a new term. It's a new term you've introduced.
That's a Jeremy Lee term.
Okay, snowing. Got it.
Snowing, yeah.
Can I ask, what do you think this person is doing at the bottom here? This guy, what is this, a hockey player? What's he doing? He looks like he's posing.
Yeah, very seductively. That's
that's why I love this card.
Silhouette. Yeah. Okay. Hey, you gotta pick out your favorite part of the card.
Yep.
So Eddie Shore was born in 1902. Played mostly for the Boston Bruins as a defenseman in the NHL. He was known for his aggressiveness, toughness, and defensive skill. During his career, Troy, he won the Hart Trophy 4 times.
Wow.
Most of any defenseman, and only Gretzky and Howe have won more. He's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, 1929, and your favorite year, 1939. His number 2 jersey was retired in 1947, the same year he was inducted in the Hall of Fame. There couldn't have been many jerseys retired in 1947.
I don't think so.
Last sale of a 1933 Goalie Sport Kings Eddie Shore PSA 7 sold for $1,800 in September 2022 in the PWCC Weekly Auction, which was also the all-time high sale. And there's only been 5 public sales on a PSA 7 copy of this card in card ladder sales history. So when I think of, like, I don't know if this thought has ever crossed your mind, but you're like $1,800 for a 1933, almost 100 years old, 4-time Hart winner, PSA 7. Like, how many, like, I'm not being like offensive to any young prospects, but like Owen Power or Mo Sider or Kaprizov cards get sold for $1,800.
Yeah.
It's like, you could own something like this. Just crazy. But you got a current bid?
$280.
All right. We got the next one.
I do. Was yours in 1933? Yours was in
Gosh,
1933. Mine's in 1933 too.
we're on the same wavelength, Troy.
I know. I expanded my. I got out of the Parkhurst realm, and I did a 1933 Worldwide Gum Ice Kings. Now, I want to say George's Mantha. I don't know. I know I'm saying it wrong, probably, but that's what it looks like to me. It's a PSA 6. It's got the PWCC A rating, which means the eye appeal rating is in the top 30%.
Yep.
So I got that right finally. But when I saw this card, I actually wanted to look at it for a couple reasons. And one, I don't know if we've done a 1933 Worldwide Gum Ice Kings card. We maybe
I think that would be
have.
a negative, Troy.
Okay. And then secondly, the player, George's Mantha, I didn't know anything about. So again, that always piques my interest, and I want to look at these players. So the set itself, since I knew absolutely zero about it, I went on Cardboard Connection, and they have a little blurb. It said Worldwide Gum was one of several gum companies to make hockey sets for the 33-34 season, named after the brand of gum that accompanied the cards. Great.
Did they mention like why they all came all of a sudden at once? Like what was so
They
unique
didn't.
about 1933? Oh.
I didn't see anything.
We got a gift of a book that I need to spend more time. I'm sure that this info might be in there.
I'm going to bring some stuff up. And so Cardboard Connection also says that the Ice Kings hockey card fronts feature a tinted player picture. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can kind of see with a background ice left intact, which you can kind of see as well. Player's name appears in a corner. White border surrounds the card. Backs are printed in green ink, and the layout is similar to what fans of many Gaudy sets would recognize. Boy, we didn't plan this, but it's kind of funny how they're kind of related to each other.
This happens all the time.
I know. A card number appears at the top, followed by the player's name, position, and team. I believe that's on that's not the back. Sorry. There are two back formats, as cards are found in English only or in French and English. There's a bilingual version. At the bottom is an ad for both Ice Kings Gum and the Worldwide Gum Company. Great. There are all 72 cards in the set. There's 2 series were printed. The first 48 were more common. The last 24 are slightly harder to locate. And the big names are Howie Morans, Charlie Conacher, Oriel Joliet, Joliet, I don't know. And King Clancy, our favorite. We love King Clancy. We talk about him
Fancy Clancy?
Fancy Clancy. But Josh, you brought it up. I said, in addition, we received a gift from a listener at the Fall Sports Expo. I don't want to botch his name. Do you want to say his name?
Juan, right?
Yeah. So we got a gift. It was Vintage Hockey Card Collector Book by Bobby Burrell. He gave us a copy, and I actually looked it up, and the set was in there, and it had some other information that I wanted to share. It had the 72 cards.
Can I stop you, though?
Yeah.
You just did me dirty.
Why did you dirty?
You walked me off the name plank. You were like, we got to rewind that. You're like, I'm panicking about the name. You say it, so you be wrong and look like a jerk to probably.
Yeah, we're so bad at names.
We can
never.
Please forgive us, anyone, if we butcher your name.
Yeah,
so,
and I always, part of me too is like, should I even say the name because I didn't ask for permission?
Yeah, there's that too.
All right, so the cards are 2 3/8 inches by 2 7/8 inches, and there's some more stuff about them. But Josh, I didn't know this. These packs were double wrapped with an outer green and purple wrapper and an inner wrapper with advertising for premium photos. So they had like a redemption program. So premium photos were 7 inches by 9 inches, not
Did
6
it take
inches.
12 years?
Yeah. What's that?
Did it take 12 years?
Yeah, good question. So they're 7 inches by 9 inches and not 6 inches by 9 inches as stated on the wrappers. However, you got the premium photos by sending in 50 outer wrappers along with a premium wrapper. And then the number on the premium wrapper that was not cut off indicated which of the 6 premium photos was being requested. So a ton of knowledge. That's probably more than anyone wanted to learn about this set, but I just loved it. Reading that, love that book. There's so much good little information and tidbits in it. So now I can reference it. Like with Jeremy, he always references it too. So now I feel like I'm getting more knowledgeable.
Well, it's kind of cool, like how creative the manufacturers were being even 100
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's a redemption program. All right, so now a little more on our boy, Georges Mantha. He was a D/left winger from Lachine, Quebec. He's a two-time Cup winner, played 488 NHL games with the Montreal Canadiens. Career stats of 90 goals, 103 assists for 193 points. This card, Josh, is a PSA 6. Looks in absolutely great shape. I think the tinting kind of helps it. I think it looks really nice. This version of the card I showed earlier, this is the bilingual version. So it's got the French and then the English on the back. And the PSA 6 pop is 8. There are 11 graded higher, and a total PSA pop of this version of the card is 45. They also separate out the English only version too, but this is the bilingual one. Last sale of a PSA 6 copy of this card I could find on eBay, verified in Terapeak, was for $199.99 US on January 17th of 2021. However, a PSA 6.5 sold via eBay and verified on Terapeak for $260 US on March 8th of 2023. Current bid for this card, $36 US. Go get it.
Yeah, you might have to place a bid, Troy, and get like
it stays there.
an entry for a Black Friday memorabilia.
Yeah, there you go.
Very cool card. Awesome to learn more about the set. So the last vintage card that we're going to feature today for I think the third consecutive show, I'm going back to the Bobby Orr well here. It's the 1974 OPG Bobby Orr PSA 9. PSA 9 is a pop of 41. There's none graded higher. There's been a total of 568 of these cards graded by PSA. Like I said, it must be on this like subliminal Bobby Orr kick because it's like I got Sir Bobby on the brain here. Last two were rookies though, and this is one of his later years cards. So first of all, are you a fan of the 1974 OPG card designs? Like, is this a set that you like the look and feel the look of?
I like the design of the art on the card, like the stick coming down. I hate the pictures on these. I don't like.
They look a little bit like mugshots.
Yeah, they're kind of that photo shoot vibe, where they look like they are a photo shoot. But yeah, they're not my favorite from the picture standpoint. But I do like the art on them.
Yeah, the art's awesome. I love like the hockey stick along the left side.
Yeah.
The colors are very reminiscent of the era, and so it does have a kind of a mid-70s vibe to it. I really love this set. It does feature a number of key rookies in 1974 OPG. You have Lanny McDonald, Borje Salming, Dennis Potvin, Bob Gainey, I guess, to name a few. And I would just think that this Bobby Orr card is great for any Orr collector, or if you're trying to like compete in the PSA set registry, that sort of stuff. The card itself is really nice. Biggest issue is slightly off center from right to left, but still pretty good. Nothing. It's a PSA 9. Registration looks good. Image colors are rich. Corners and edges look great. But when we talk about Bobby Orr, I can't just do a standard profile. So I had to try to find something unique. We're going to keep going back to the well on this one here, Troy. So Bobby Orr was a winger until 10 years old when his coach, a former NHL player, Bucko McDonald. You big Bucko McDonald guy?
Good old Bucko.
Well, Bucko moved Sir Bobby to defense. He felt young Bobby was a natural on the blue line, but encouraged him to use his skating, stick handling abilities along with his propensity to score and to rush often with the puck. So he wanted him to be an offensive defenseman.
Nice.
Bobby would later credit Bucko with shaping his game and his hockey philosophy. It's kind of wild too. Like I'm going to sort of detail how Bobby made it into the NHL and how young these players were when they were basically recruited by NHL teams. Yeah. So the Bruins first noticed Bobby Orr playing in a youth tournament in 1961 when he would have been 13 years old, and basically started to woo him at that point.
Yep.
They sponsored his youth team, gave him like $1,000 or something like that, and convinced him to sign some sort of like letter of intent or something like that at 14 years old. The Bruins, Troy, then took ownership of a new juniors franchise, the Oshawa Generals, that was a team that was largely created to help Bobby Orr develop. So like, okay, we'll start a junior team just for him to play on.
Just to get you going.
Yeah, it's just crazy how at the time the NHL was be working and recruiting basically kids.
Well, I got a story for that. My buddy, whose dad was a very good hockey player, he was contacted by the Bruins and the Canadians at like 16 or 17 years old to come and go into their development. And instead, he stayed, graduated high school, played for the Gophers in college, and then decided he didn't like hockey anymore and went into the business world.
Wow. Is that the card you're looking
Yeah,
for?
that's the card I'm looking for.
Okay. Orwood played for the Oshawa Generals for 4 seasons before joining the Bruins at age 18 in 1966. So he had been involved with the Bruins organization for like 5 years
Wow.
before he ever played an NHL game. I just thought that was really fascinating. Last sale of the 1974 OPC Bobby Orr PSA 9 was $1,577 US in September of 2022. That was also the all-time high. You got a current bid?
$145 US.
All right, we're going to switch to modern cards now. So the first card I picked out, I had never seen before, and then I kind of learned as a new card, so it makes sense.
Makes sense.
It's a little dark in the picture.
Yeah.
I think it's better in person. It's a 2022 SPX Holographs Alexander Ovechkin red die cut auto out of 15 BGS 810. Like I said, hadn't seen it before, wanted to learn about it. Plus, it's out of 15 OV. It's autoed, so I'm in. And kind of the word holographs was intriguing to me too. A fairly recent release, 2022-23 SPX just came out at the end of September. There's 18 cards in the holographs checklist with the biggest names other than OV being Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews. All current players of the 18 players in the checklist. This would be a red parallel, which are out of 25 or less, with this, again, particular player being an Ovechkin out of 15. It's hard to tell by the photo, but so it's got like an image of Ovi, and then behind him is sort of that standard SPX hologram that we've seen since the late 90s there, which kind of gives the card a cool effect. It's also a die cut card.
Yeah.
It has rounded corners, which is really interesting because when you look at it's a BGS 810.
Yep.
The lowest subgrade is corners, and it's like I ain't no rocket scientist, but how do you grade corners that are rounded?
Yeah, when they're die cut, sorry, I'm getting. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm zooming really close.
Maybe that corner right there,
Yeah,
the
maybe
bottom
that
right.
one. I don't know.
Yeah. So another grading mystery to me. I just don't get it. The card also has kind of a cool metallic border, which I think I like as well too. So it's a cool looking card. The one drawback would be the sticker auto, but learning to live with those.
Yeah.
And again, it's a new card. The earliest sale I could find for an SPX holograph card was September 28th. So I think this is the first release this card came out. But it is OV, just like with Bobby Orr. We're not going to do a standard bio. So I have some rapid fire OV fun facts. You ready for them, Troy?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Ovechkin won the Ted Lindsay Award in 2008, 9, and 10, becoming only the second NHL player to win it 3 times in a row. Now, remember, the Ted Lindsay is basically the MVP as voted on by the NHLPA. He was the first player to win the Art Ross, Rocket Richard, Lester B. Pearson, which became the Ted Lindsay Award, and the Hart Memorial Trophy in the same season.
Wow.
Pretty impressive. Now, while Troy Ovi does not, of course, yet have the NHL goals record, he does have the NHL goals record on the road. 418. Sounds like Wayne was more of a homebody when it came to not quite as dominant on the road as Alex Ovechkin. Okay, now this one, Troy. You got to strap on your helmet and do the chin strap tight because this one tied me all up in knots.
All right, let's hear it.
It's one of my favorite fun facts ever. Ovi is the only NHL player to ever be named to the first and second All-Star teams in the same season. For 2012.
What?
He was voted an NHL All-Star first team right wing, and because of a voting error, was also named to the second team at left wing. So during the lockout shortened season of 2012-13, he played 44 of the 48 games as a right winger, so he made the second team All-Star and played 4 games on left wing. That's been 4 really good games, I guess. That just blew my mind. There haven't been any sales of a 2022-23 SPX Alexander Ovechkin holographs red out of 15, or really any other parallel of this card for that matter. So this will be the first one. You got a current bid?
$185.
Okay, buddy, you got the next one.
All right, next card. I'm going with this one. 2006 Upper Deck the Cup limited logos Guy Lafleur patch auto out of 50. So Josh, I love this card. I think I just put down great card. So I said, well, look at the card itself.
Trace analysis. Card is good. Me
Great.
like card.
I'm done. I want to look at the card, and then I want to have a discussion on the card. And there's a topic I want to bring up, and you can guess what it's going to be.
Oh, my OCD fired like instantly.
Okay, so I want to have a conversation about that. So the card is a limited logos, which we obviously love. We've spouted about limited logos, how awesome they are.
We're very pro limited logos.
Very pro, and if you listen to our masterclass on the cup, Mitch Grotman goes over limited logos, and they're fantastic. So the card itself, this is raw. It's a raw version. It's got that MBA authentication. It's in really nice condition. These are very thick cards. And if you look, zoom in, you can see some chipping around the corners. And at the bottom, you see the black kind of wears away. It's par for the course for all these thick cards. They usually all have some kind of
limited logos are never in perfect condition.
No. So that's something you just deal with. And again, these cards are so fantastic. I think most people just look over them. And again, Guy Lafleur, absolute legend, one of the all-time greats in NHL history. But now, Josh, let's get into the meat of this bad boy. So the memorabilia on this card looks like it's from a Quebec Nordiques jersey. And I'm going to guess you agree because you can see the blue, the white. And I believe it's part of the Fleur de Lis. Is that what we figured out that it was called?
Yeah.
Which was on the Nordiques jersey. I think it was on the shoulders, if I remember right. Now, I have said in the past, I am not a fan of cards where the patch or the memorabilia or whatever is on there doesn't match the team jersey that the player is wearing. Obviously, on the card, Lafleur's in a Montreal Canadiens jersey, and this being a Nordiques memorabilia item, I didn't think I would like it at first. But then the more I started thinking about this and looking at this card, it's just the one thing that comes down to is like, it's Guy Lafleur, and I just love that in French that the Fleur de Lis means flower and lily, and his name being Lafleur, which means the flower. I think there's a super cool connection that I am all for this card, even though it has a Nordiques memorabilia item versus a Canadiens jersey on them. So I'm all in on it. What do you think? Is it still you're not a fan of? Still does your OCD dirty?
Yeah, this one's tough because I totally buy your argument. Like, I think you made some very solid points, and I agree with them all. But why not put him in a Nordiques jersey in the photo?
Yeah,
man.
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't go that deep, but I didn't know if these were all based on a certain year or what they were going. There's so many other things, but again, maybe that's all they had, or you never know the reasonings for some of this stuff. Maybe Mitch does. Mitch might actually have an idea or why they did it, but
he does.
I'm all in on this card, and I never thought I would say that where I liked the teams being different, but I just think there's that really cool connection with his name and this symbol and what it means.
Is that a patch too, or is that screen printed?
See, I think it's screen printed. I think if it's, I really don't want to call it a patch because I'm not sure it is a patch. Like, I don't know what to call it. Like, so I've just been saying memorabilia piece, and that's what they say on the back of the card too. They call it memorabilia. On the front of the card is a piece of memorabilia that's certified to be used in an official NHL game. So I did the same thing.
So the NHL went through a period of screen printing their jerseys.
I'm sure. Oh, I'm sure back in the 70s, 80s, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they did when screen printing was hot.
The auto looks beautiful on the card.
Oh, yeah.
It is a very cool design card. So
yeah, and it's
a card you might bid on.
I don't know. We'll see. It's already out. It's at a pretty high price. This exact card, the 5 out of 50, sold on March 30th of this year via eBay, verified in Terapeak for $419.57 US. The current bid on this, and I know someone did this just to be funny, but it's $420. US dollars. So it's, if you want to
So
use
it's
that
at 500.
what's that?
So it's over 500.
Oh, right now?
No, because it doesn't include buyer premium.
I
Until
got you. Yes, sorry. I
hammer.
was like, I just looked up the price. I wanted to be sure I was right. Yes. Yes. So it will be over that. But I don't know. It's a great card. I love it.
It is awesome. All right. I'm buying what you're selling. I'm on board. It hurts my OCD. But... Okay, last modern card that we want to feature in this week's PWCC Weekly Auction. 2014 Fleer Showcase Wayne Gretzky Metal Universe PMG Green out of 10 PSA 9. The PSA 9 is a pop 1 with none graded higher. The only other one of the, well, there's only 10 copies that was graded by PSA is a PSA 7. It's a double Wayne day for me, Troy, in the PWCC Weekly Preview. Not lost on me. I picked this card out because it's one of the most uniquely designed PMGs. As we've discussed, the PMG have started to feel a little bit repetitive to this point. And, you know, since they reappeared in 2020-21 Metal Universe, there's been just a million parallels, probably too many. And they keep repeating the 97, 98 designs. But like I said, this one's kind of different and interesting. And I got to be honest, I kind of like it. It's got a dual image of Wayne. So there's kind of the main image of color. He's in an Oilers uniform, which is pretty awesome in the foreground. And then somewhat are faded, like the transparent, like green PMG foil is a headshot of Wayne in the background. So it's a Wayne Gretzky card with 2 Jofa helmets. Or come on, if I just stop now, I mean, we're all in, right? The color combinations and numbering for these PMGs were also a little bit different than what we think of like PMGs today. So the greens are basically numbered 1 through 10. Blues, there's a blue version of this one, 11 through 35, and then the reds are 36 through 100. And I got to admit too, I've been thrown off by certain cards from 2014 around there, 2015 that have always said that they're PMGs, but I guess I'm so used to having it say precious metal gems on the card.
Yeah.
So like there's a part of me that's always been like, is this really a PMG? If I'm at like a show, is this guy just trying, and it doesn't say PMG on the slab either. But I did look it up in the checklist, of course, and yes, it is a PMG. Okay. It doesn't even have PMG on the back, which I'm going to show the back, just number one to prove it. And because Troy, you are, you know, the world's greatest hockey card back design aficionado on earth. So, what do you give the grade for this card on the back? I mean, what's your review?
If it's out of 10, I love the picture. Picture's a 10. Having the biography stuff go this way on this card is terrible. I don't like it.
Okay. Well, see, and I thought that much like your question to me on the Guy Lafleur with the memorabilia and the photo not being from the same team. Now, if you go back to the front, I thought, and I know you're not the world's biggest PMG guy, but I thought, well, this is not like your run of the mill PMG. Do you like this better than kind of the 97, 98 retros?
I actually like the background picture, like another picture of Wayne. Now, I want to say I was thrown off when you started talking because you said it's a double Wayne day.
It's not. I screwed up. Yeah.
Okay, well, I thought you were talking. Then I thought maybe you're talking about
the double photo,
2 pictures.
Yeah.
But then I started looking through the notes. I'm like, did I just totally zone out while you talked about another?
You're trying to kill me today, aren't you? First of all, you pushed me off the nameplate and maybe butcher Quam's name, and then now you're calling out on my fault. It's a good thing I have thick skin here, Troy. Jeez.
Well, I was just confused. I just thought I totally missed a whole segment that you talked about.
You should be used to me confusing you. But. Now, and when I saw this card too, I got to be honest, I remembered seeing it in person, and I'm thinking, like, gosh, where did I see this card? And I'm like, oh, I know whose card this is. I'm going to give you a guess, Troy. The person who owned it, their name rhymes with Jeremy Lee.
There you go.
Yeah, I think it's Jeremy's card. I'm not 100% positive, so cool card, Jeremy, if it's yours. And then if you haven't heard of Wayne Gretzky, well, welcome to the hobby. Hope you're having a great first day, and start Googling Wayne because you kind of need to know about him. And I don't think it's controversial to say Wayne was good at hockey. Yeah, so last sale of the 2014 Fleer Showcase Wayne Gretzky Metal Universe Precious Metal Gems out of 10 was a BGS 8.5 that sold for $2,250 US this past April. All-time high for PSA set was the PSA 7 we referenced a bit ago that went for $7,200 US last September in the PWCC premiere. I know PMGs have
Ooh.
come down quite a bit in the past
Yeah.
years. I'm guessing, you might get something a little bit less than that, but pretty awesome card. I would definitely love to own it. Got a current bid?
$430 US.
So make sure you go to pwccmarketplace.com, check out the weekly auction. It ends this upcoming Sunday. Tune in to Jeremy and I's show on his YouTube channel, Sports Cards Live, at 8:30 Central Sunday as well. Okay, personal pickups. Neither of us really have cards. We suck. But our lives are just super busy. But we do have kind of a pickup. We're going to call one. And it's really for the both of us. So it's a shared experience. Last episode, I talked about my last pickup, which is a 2007-08 MVP one-on-one dual auto card of Mika Kiprasov that had his auto, and then also Alex Tanguay. So it was one of those dual-sided cards. I'd done the deal on my card post with a frequent mailbag contributor, Sebastian Engelhardt. You must recognize that name.
Oh, yeah.
And when I received the card, he sent along some very, very cool gifts for us, Troy. And actually, he reminded me, and I did remember, one of his first mailbag questions was about the 2006, 2007 Upper Deck mini jersey set that I don't think either of us had really seen before or known much about. And he asked us if we were aware of it.
Yeah.
So, Troy, he sent each of us 2 mini jerseys from that set. So here they are. There's some of them. There's Wild and Maple Leafs. And then if you go, I think, to the next picture, it's a Matt Sundin, Marian Gaborik jersey. And then he sent us a couple. These must be yours because it's a Marty Turco,
Sure. Yeah, I'll take the
Stars, and Henrik Lundqvist in Rangers. Now, we haven't seen each other in a number of days, so I haven't got a chance to show you these yet. They're cool. Like the Turco one is like real leather.
Oh, it looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not like cheaply made by any stretch.
That's
And
awesome.
so, very, very gracious. Thank you, Sebastian. They're super awesome gifts. You hit the nail on the head, and yeah, they're super cool. I guess they only made it for 1 year. So.
Oh, really? Well, those are cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our show. If you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, you want to support us, want to chat with us every day on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our out of $1.99 support level tier on Patreon. The link is in the show description if you're listening to us on a podcast app, or in the description in YouTube. It's on our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com. There's a Become a Patron link at the top of the page. If you want, just go to Patreon, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gongshow, or on our Instagram and TikTok profile in our link tree. There's a link to our Patreon there. We're on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. Again, to everyone in the U.S., happy Thanksgiving. We're very, very grateful for everybody, no matter where you are. And thank you for your support of our show. And we'll talk to you on Monday.